Hello and welcome back, everyone. We are still live here at Awwwards in Amsterdam, and I have Gert here with me. Welcome, Gert. How are you?
Thank you, Stephanie, for having me.
So you're the founder of Clever Franke. Do I pronounce it right?
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe you can say how you...
the Dutch way to say it is Clever Franke.
Clever Franke.
That's very
Close
close.
enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. Awesome job.
Learning a new language here in Amsterdam, so one more to add on my CV.
Very good.
That's great.
Getting there.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How long have you been in the design industry for? What brought you to the design industry?
I started doing basically graphic design when I was already 15. I started creating the most outrageous menu cards and posters for nightclubs and etc. And then eventually I started doing art school and graduated there in the direction of graphic design in 2008. And then afterwards started together with my classmate and friend Thomas Clever. We started Clever Franke, and since 2008 we are now Clever Franke.
So you met at uni?
Yes,
Wow.
we did. Yeah, so we go back a long time.
That's great. And you're specialized in data visualization. Difficult topic, right? There's a lot of data, but not so much visualization
Yes.
in the market.
Yes.
So how do you approach these things?
Like one of the big challenges we always have to deal with is to make sure that what a client wants to do is the data really allows them to do. We often get into this trouble that a client come to us and says like, hey, Clever Franke, we've seen these beautiful images you've produced. We want to have something similar. Can you produce such a thing? And then we're always a little bit hesitant to immediately say yes, because what we first would like to know is really like, okay, what does this client really want to achieve with this visualization, so that we can understand the real goals and the ultimate outcome of the projects. And on the other hand, we start digging into the data and see what's really feasible with the data. And eventually we'll want to make sure that what's feasible is also in line with the ultimate outcome that the client envisioned, and that we make sure that we match those eventually into one great project.
I see. And if you think back in your early days, were there projects that you thought were really great and were actually not? The projects that you really learned from?
Yeah, there's one project we did, even here for the city of Amsterdam. We were asked to design the wallpaper of a subway, so a subway train.
Okay.
So they asked us, like, can you come up with a concept for the interior print of this subway? And what we thought was really cool is to show how Amsterdam as a capital relates to other capitals in the world, and showcase what are the differences, etc., and use a ton of data for that. But eventually, and I can even show this project, we have to go to my presentation folder and archive. And eventually we made a design that was printed in the subway. But afterwards we adjusted the photography a bit. But what we totally forgot was the scale that we were working in. Because a subway is quite a big canvas to work with. And what we did is we basically made all the elements way too big and also way too bright. Because like in these photos we toned down a lot. But all these graphics were basically, when you walked in that train, were screaming towards you like, hello, data, interesting. And the thing was basically way too chaotic to have a comfortable writing.
And
so
during rush hour, probably no one would be able to read
exactly.
it.
So that it was no problem. But what we really learned from this is that you really have to be aware for the kind of medium you're working for. In this particular case, it's a really big medium where we didn't have any experience with. So next time if we would approach such a project, is that we first would do a lot more test prints and perhaps even be very reluctant to accept such an assignment.
I see. Interesting project. So If you can talk about another project that you think was one that was really successful, your early success that changed your mindset after this one.
Yeah, I think eventually, back in the days, 10 years ago, we already wanted to do a lot with data visualization, but it was really very hard to get assignments for that because it was not so known as it is currently. So we tried our best to find assignments, and eventually were able to do a big dashboard for a Dutch bank, SNS bank, and that helped us gain more assignments. But still, it was very hard to find the right assignment. So we did also a lot of, back then, still a lot of traditional graphic design, like designing photo books and identities and theater posters, etc. But eventually, we had the luck that we were invited by Google. And they said, like, yeah, we have this massive research that we every year publish, and can you help us to publish this research? And that's what I show you right now. It's called the Consumer Barometer. We made this in 2012, so almost 7 years ago. And what this showcase is to what extent people buy stuff online or still in a physical store. And to what extent people look up in a physical store online reviews, etc. And to what extent do people buy stuff online but still go to a physical store to first test it or at least see the product. And this helps marketeers to see how they should market their product. And this was a very successful project that helped gain a lot of attention. And back in those days, we were also the first company that worked for Google here in the Netherlands, and that also helped immediately opening up a lot of doors.
Sure.
To
congratulations.
So this was
sounds
really
like
good.
a big job. Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite.
It looks great, actually, like molecules from the chemistry lesson.
Yeah.
Was that the thing that the thought that you had in mind?
Yeah, molecules or some kind of space where you can go through, like some kind of universe where you can float through. And basically we want to give it to people the feeling really of space where you can find different directions in.
And has it helped Google in their research?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because we also learned a really important thing here is because we spent a lot of time and effort in this project creating it, because we thought like, yeah, we could finally work for Google, like the big company from the United States. So we put in a lot of effort, tried to do our best, and eventually this came out. And then at a certain moment, Google launched this project. And we, as a small agency, were very enthusiastic and excited, like, yeah, finally, this project goes live. So let's see how people react to it. Let's see what the media writes about it. But the funny thing was that basically nothing happened. Because the Google they forgot to send out a press release, and they used it in a call center to redirect people that were considering to buy AdWords. But it was successful, the product for them, but they didn't really
promote it.
Yeah.
They failed to promote it, basically. But it was a public research. It was not internal for Google.
No.
So it was a public one, but they failed to promote it to the public.
Yeah.
Do you have more kind of these projects that went public?
Yeah, like eventually we also started to work more for governments, and this is one example we did for the city of Chicago, in which we visualized their status of their mobility infrastructure. What you basically see here is based on several topics. You can see how much congestion there is, for example, how much bridges need repairing, etc., etc., etc. And this helped the general public to get a better insight in what the current status of the infrastructure in Chicago is.
And where do you get the data from? You have a client meeting, usually the client approaches you, and then the client lets you know their data. Say, we have 1,000 damaged bridges. Can you visualize that?
Yes, more or less. Like what I said in the beginning also is that it's for us always the challenge to make sure that the data can meet the goals of the client. And in this particular field was especially very complicated because a lot of these data sets that we used are just measured every few years. But the trouble was, where we also ran into, that from some neighborhoods it was measured, say, a year ago, where for other neighborhoods it was already data for 4 years ago. And then eventually we needed to make sure that we combined those data, but also not also made sure that people wouldn't misinterpret that data. And it was quite a challenge also to make sure that we had a city like Chicago, which is really big, that we had all those data filtered and correctly sorted out, so that we made sure that it represented exactly what it should represent.
And how do you come up with the ideas of how to visualize it? If you have, probably you get Excel files, I can imagine, or like really boring looking documents with a lot of data inside. So how do you come up with your ideas, how to make this sheet pretty?
Let me quickly look up one thing.
If you guys in the chat have any questions, let me know too, and I'll ask that.
Would be great. So what we do is we sit down a lot with clients, have workshops, investigate what stakeholders think, what their target audience thinks, etc., etc. We have all kinds of canvases for that to make sure we chart it in a constructive and structured way. But then eventually we also start digging into that data. And in many cases we just use a ton of Excel. We just start working in Excel or Tableau, which is some kind of extended version of Excel. And then simply start prototyping stuff, just testing. Just like you're sketching out a logo, we're sketching out visualizations based on real data. And then eventually really look to, okay, what should the data convey? What kind of message should we convey? And what's the best fitting visualization for that? And then eventually we pick one visualization.
Awesome, it looks amazing. Do you have anything more to show in your presentation that you would like us to be part of?
What would perhaps be cool is to show you a little bit more of future vision of, I think, where data visualization is heading to. Yeah. Unless there are any questions, by the way.
So far I haven't seen any, no.
Okay. So this is a project we did for the city of Dubai. The city of Dubai has a big challenge with their infrastructure, with their city, because currently 1,000 high-rise buildings are under construction. That means
constant dust. I
exactly.
was there and I felt like every day I came back, I felt like I'm dirty, I'm full of sand, so yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Perhaps that also has to do something with the desert that's quite near, but
yeah,
also
but
I think
I think it was more the construction site that left the sand in my face. So
a lot of stuff is being built there that also has to do with the entire world more urbanizing. People simply want to live in cities. But especially in the city of Dubai, that has a huge effect on its citizens, because all those construction projects cause a lot of dust, traffic jams, etc. And what we did is created a platform in which we use different new technologies to inform people about what's being built and how eventually the future skyline of Dubai will look like. So what we did, for example, what you see here is we used AR so people can see what's being built, but also together with Volkswagen Innovations, we're currently looking into how we can equip self-driving cars with interactive windows, where we, with the help of augmented reality, show people literally while they look outside what will be built the coming years in Dubai.
Fancy, that's so fancy.
Yeah, and this is, I think, a little bit where also our profession is heading to, where we have these mixed realities, where we include data into reality, that I think will have the coming year a huge impact on how we deal with data.
Imagine if you would include that in a sightseeing bus.
Yeah, that
And
would be
all
awesome.
all the tourists would see how this city would look like. So they only have to go once.
Yeah,
Maybe not so good for the tourism industry, but good for you.
would be great also with the Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, for example,
Yeah.
which is already built for ages and ages. That you simply can see how it then eventually will look like in 25 years.
Yeah, Gaudi always said God doesn't have a time limit, so that's
But
why it's
perhaps
still
we
being
can pretend
built.
to be God. No, I'm not sure if we should do that, but okay.
I think we
never
should
mind.
not talk about religion in this, in this chat, but yeah, very interesting. And how do you create this? So that's clearly a video that you
Yeah.
have done. So that is how you visualize or how you pitch your ideas to clients.
Yeah, this
Through
is
videos.
currently still some kind of mock-up that we are currently really testing, and that we are further iterating on, and we hope together with Volkswagen to launch this somewhere next year. But I always believe in tangible examples that can make sure that people get on board to really realize a plan. If we just talk about vision and where we would like to head to in vague descriptions, it's very hard for people to really buy in on that and really
I
say,
see.
yes, let's create that. Well, I think the power we as creatives have is to really visualize stuff and really show with sketches and movies and stories how the future world might look like, and then try to collaborate with others and get others on board so that we can really create the things we have in mind that we would like to create.
So we have some questions here in the chat finally. Luke is asking, what's your approach regarding user testing with data visualization?
Yeah, that's a good question.
question.
Also a really tough one that we also are still struggling with ourselves a lot. The trouble we have is that in many cases our projects have the objective to make people more aware of or create a better insight or just simply inform them. But those kind of things are really hard to measure. Like, how can I measure that you have a better insight? That's quite hard to do. While if your objective is simply sell more or make sure that you have some kind of other very concrete conversion goal, it's also a lot easier to test that. On the other hand, what we try to do is test really small parts of the solutions that we create. You just see like, okay, do people understand a certain element of our design, or do they understand where this project is about? Can they dig up certain insights, etc.? But eventually, if we really contributed to the end goal, it's for us hard to do, and that's something we really would like to. But to make it very concrete, we do rapid prototyping, use that for kind of all the standard methods, like using Adobe XD, and then invite people and use the prototypes we create with Adobe XD, and then see how we can improve and iterate on the designs we've created, and then test again, etc.
So XD has certainly made your life easier
Yes.
in your work life.
Yes.
That's great to know.
Especially
Then-
software, the last
Yes,
last couple of years made us our life a lot easier.
That's good to know. Thanks for the feedback. Then we have another question from Nicole. What tools, software, programming languages are currently the best way to create these custom visualizations? Yeah, I think we just answered that. Adobe XD
It's one way, at least a prototype. Yeah.
is the tool to go for, for sure.
Now, it's for me a little bit hard to answer because
Yeah.
I'm basically a graphic designer and not a developer. But what I know is that we use a ton of different frameworks and tools. We use a lot of D3. We use a lot of React. Yeah, and we use whatever suits the need for the project. So sometimes we use Unity, sometimes we use open frameworks, sometimes we use processing, whatever works, basically.
So you're all over the place.
Yes.
Like the data, right?
Yes.
So it's just you're also going to speak here at Awwwards, so let's not miss that. What is your talk going to be about?
Basically, my talk will be about how I've become a designer, and especially the struggles I had to deal with while really becoming a good designer. And what I noticed is that I had many times moments of complete despair where I really didn't know what to do anymore. And that's something I would like to talk about and have a conversation about, and perhaps show people what I've learned over the last couple of years, so that perhaps their pain that they sometimes have while designing and developing can be perhaps a little bit less.
And your talk is tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 3.
At 3 p.m. So if you're here at Awwwards, join Gert for his talk at 3 p.m. Very interesting. Is there anything you would like to give our designers, our community on the way? Any tips?
Any tips is, if you want to do stuff with data, just don't be afraid of it. It won't eat you, it won't harm you. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Just start doing stuff, start experimenting, start juggling with data, and then eventually you will learn how to deal with it, and how you can become better at it. That's my foremost thing I would like to say. Besides that, I think let's keep on sharing knowledge, insights, ideas with each other on platforms like Behance, on conferences like Awwwards, etc. Because I think we can still learn a ton of each other. And I still can learn a ton also of all the people on the Behance network and here at the Awwwards conferences. And please keep doing that.
Yeah, design is a never-ending process. It's always iterating, developing further, creating the next version and the next version. What would you say was the shortest and the longest projects in terms of time? I can imagine data visualization takes a lot of time.
Yes. It's
so what was the shortest to not scare everyone off here?
It's extremely labor intensive.
Yeah.
So many projects take more than 1.5 years.
Wow.
But we also have projects that take just 2 or 3 weeks, if it's just one visualization.
So maybe that's a good point to encourage everyone out there to try out data visualization.
Yeah.
You're also on Behance, right?
Yes.
So yeah, look up Gert on Behance. Great projects out there. We're coming up to an end. It was great having you here, speaking with you.
For having me.
Thanks, Gert. And yeah, if anybody wants to learn more, join Gert tomorrow at 3 p.m. here at Awwwards.
Great.
Thank you very much.